These swords. They look like the ones in old Lumia.
Ah, so he's the one who felled the Exxon. Simon.
You know him?
He's an old friend of mine. We joined Expedition Zero together. He disappeared and I thought... Looks like you met Clair. I'll lay you to rest, my friend.
I can do it.
These foes are beneath you. You, who have fought heaven and earth, and subdued giants. To find me, to free me from her grasp. Would you fall now to the likes of them? While your oath remains unfulfilled, enemies await.
What looking good? I can do it.
All right, so let's take a look at this one-shot build. So I am using Maelle, obviously, and I've got the Lithum weapon. I've always used this weapon for my one-shot builds because I always build my characters luck, agility, and might. And since this thing scales off of agility and luck, I think that this one works really, really well for that. I actually did try, and I should say, I don't know if there's other, I'm sure there's probably other weapons that'll work for this as well, but like you'd probably have to tweak your stats a bit. So like the Glyzum, right, might work if you were, if you maxed out your defense, agility, and might. But that said, I did try the Dunum, which at level 33, the Dunum is Maelle's lowest power of all of her weapons. And I basically did the same thing there, where I reset my stat points and I pumped stats into agility and defense and might. And she was not able to one-shot. She was only hitting about 40 million damage, so about 5 million damage short, even with like literally all of the best offense-related Pictos. So just couldn't quite do it with the Dunum. But again, there's probably other weapons that may work for this as well, but I just recommend, I guess, or I should say, I know for sure that you can use the Lithum. Anyways, let's get into the Pictos and Luminas. So I'm using Cheater, Confident Fighter, and Shield Affinity. Basically what I did here was I wanted to make a build that used the least amount of Lumina points. And part of that, though, of course, then is equipping Pictos that have very, very expensive or the highest price Lumina cost. So that being Cheater, Confident, and Shield Affinity. So Cheater is 40 Lumina points that we're saving, and then Confident Fighter is 15, and same with Shield Affinity, that's also 15. So saving a bit of Lumina points just by equipping the correct Pictos. But let's actually get into the Lumina abilities here that we need. So at Death's Door, so it says, deal 50% more damage if health is below 10%. That's obvious, right? We're using Last Chance on our first turn to drop her down to 1 HP, which of course is then triggering the 50% more damage. Augmented First Strike, 50% increased damage on that first hit. Cheater, again, coming from that Pictos and saving a ton of Lumina points. Confident Fighter costs 15, so again, saving a bit of Lumina points there. Empowering Last Stand, it says gain powerful of fighting alone. This is huge. And essentially it's just cheaper than using auto powerful, right? Because of course that's 10 versus the 3. Next up is First Offensive. So it says first hit dealt and taken deals 50% more damage. This is just like augmented first, strike. So just getting a little bit of extra damage out of that initial hit. First strike, that's kind of a no-brainer. We need to act first, and of course take those 2 turns before Simon gets to act. Glass Cannon, just 25% more damage. Greater Powerful, an extra 15% on the Powerful. Immaculate's getting us the 30% there. In Medias Res, this is important because we're going to be using the damage related to the shields. I'll go over those here in a little bit, but very, very important to have that on. And then Inverted Affinity, of course, that's 50% extra damage. And then Last Stand Crit. So I've only got an 83% crit chance with this build, so I need to get that, bumped up to 100%. So, only 3 Lumina point investment makes a lot of sense. Painted Power, that's a no-brainer, right? We need to exceed the damage limit. Powered Attack here, getting a little bit of extra damage out of that. Roulette is huge. So this is the only real issue with the build that I have, right? Is it's based at least somewhat on luck. If you don't get lucky, I'm hitting about, I think it's 12 million damage only. Now that's fine if that happens for the first phase, right? Because he has so little HP in that phase. But the problem is if you get an unlucky roulette roll on the second phase, or when after the cutscene happens in the middle of the fight, he's got, of course, the 45 million health, and if you're only doing 12, you're pretty much toast. So that unfortunately is the issue, of course, with these sort of builds. But Solo Fighter, again, 50% more damage of fighting alone. That's a no-brainer. Teamwork is kind of interesting. She's fighting alone, but she still gets the extra 10% damage anyway, which I've always found kind of weird, but fair enough. The only other thing here that I don't have on would be like warming up. So you don't need the extra damage from this, right? So don't need to spend the extra 15. And I should say, so Shield Affinity is the one that works with in Medias Res, right? That's going to give us an extra, I think this, 30% increased damage while having shield. So of course, in Medias Res gives us the 3 shields. And Shield Affinity working together with that gives us an extra 30% damage. Now, there is one more powerful shield. This would give us a bit more damage too, but this isn't needed. Only a 5 Lumina cost. But again, this is all about kind of doing this build with the lowest amount of Lumina points, so we just don't need that. But that is essentially it. That is the entire build. Very, very easy and cheap way to take out Simon.